Hi, Sarah. Thank you for joining me.
Finn, and it's great to meet you. Thank you very much for the honour of being able to talk with you today.
Again, that's high praise coming from you.
Thank you.
Um, how was your morning?
Super. Thank you very much. It's lovely. We happen to be early January. We've got beautiful sunshine out there, a little bit of snow on the ground. We've had hopefully a nice break over the holiday period, a little bit of downtime, friends, family, loved ones, and yeah, back good. And yeah, lovely to be able to talk to you today. It's a topic that, as you know, is I'm very passionate about. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
It's all right. Well, I wouldn't say it's an it's probably an opportunity more for me than you, I think.
It's an honour to be. It's a delight to meet you, and it's great to be able to start a communication together. I hope.
Yeah. So, what inspired you to pursue a career in the AV industry, and how did you get your start?
Well, I was one of the many people that fell into the AV industry as opposed to purposefully knew about it
Mm.
and planned that's where I wanted to be. I started through helping to set up a video conferencing reseller called Video Meeting Company back in 1997. So that shows how long I've been in the industry. And that was working with a television broadcaster who was also an entrepreneur with businesses. And we set up a video conferencing reseller originally from a need, and then understanding that there was a business potential here coincided perfectly, and that was one of the key reasons for doing it at the time of the launch of the Polycom View Station. So I am dating myself. As I said, to which really was revolutionary in terms of price point, gave the ability for video conferencing to be sort of far more ubiquitous in corporate spaces, took it away from having been a very much more expensive product that was sort of high-end executive board spaces, and then of course look at us all of these years later, and the
Um,
development of the conferencing collaboration space, and here we are doing an interview like this in my home office.
mm, yeah. Funny how we've gotten there, right? It's been what,
Well,
20 years and now we're here. Oh,
it's absolutely, but I think that shows the pace of change that happened at that time, sort of 97, 98, 99, in terms of taking a space and a market from, as I said, sort of an executive presence and a sort of a high-end presence, and therefore high value, but not wide and not deeply deployed, to, as we've seen through things such as the pandemic as well.
essentially
Our
central hub.
industry is business critical now,
Yeah.
has been for a long time, and very, very, very clearly demonstrated. So pace of change in our industry is something we're very, very used to, and adapting to that.
Yeah, I always love when you get the brand new, I don't know, sound system, and then someone else is like, "Hey man, did you hear about the new one that came out? What? Just got this one. What's going
But
on?"
we're also good at FOMO, aren't we?
Yeah,
Certainly
I
can
paid
speak to
like
that.
ridiculous amount of money for this, and now you've telling me there's another edition that came out yesterday. All right, that's
Yeah,
what's very, very good.
yeah, yeah, we're good at that. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
very.
Hmm. So no, it's, as I said, I've been in it for all of those years, and in different spaces. It took me from, as I said, a video conferencing reseller, which I helped set up, and then had a marketing role
Mm.
within it, and then very much from then all the way through really to systems integration businesses. So always client user focused, user demands, user need. I was originally with a product marketing background, so I took a marketing background into then product development, particularly, ultimately then into sort of sales and more broader commercial routes, and of course then ultimately to leading companies. And so before joining AVIXA, which is almost 6 years ago now, I was ultimately the managing director at Electrosonic. So I've always had that breadth, I suppose, of knowing, user need, employer need as well, in the types of skill sets you want to bring into your organization and their training and development needs, working very closely with manufacturers, with consultants, with distributors, across all of the channel for all those years. Yeah, and I fell in it and I wouldn't leave it.
Lovely. And here you are.
Too exciting to too many things and opportunities and too much change as we've just talked about. And that's what brings the innovation and the passion constantly, because there's always something else that's coming that we need to adapt to, or you want to anticipate. You can see it coming and get ahead of it.
Hmm. That's the important part. See
Yeah.
the change, make the change
Yes.
ahead of time rather than just as it comes, because
Mm,
and you usually fall behind.
indeed. Indeed.
Oh, considering you're one of the millions of us who've fallen into AV and gone, oh, this is lovely, I'll just stay here.
Mm,
You have a unique perspective on the good ways to get in, like the good qualities to have, the bad qualities that you really should leave behind. What do you
mhm.
think makes a great entry level candidate in AV for an entry level candidate who might not have many specific AV skills? So,
Yeah.
I don't know, say a chef is heading
Mm,
into AV. What do you
yeah.
think they could bring?
I think the theme of what I know we're going to talk about, certainly from my perspective, really is sort of your personality type, very, very much so, rather than
Agreed.
skill set. Um, it's about, for me, what I've always seen and experienced, either personally or encouraged through when I've, the route of having been an employer, is an inquiring mind, a curious mind. I want lots of how and why questions. I'm also really important solution focused. I think the most important thing is, no matter what role you're doing, you're either working in a team, or you're working with clients, or you're working with consultants or end users, whatever it might be, you have to understand what their needs are. What's the end result we want to get from this, whether it's product development, software design, whatever it might be. What do we want to get from this? And then how do we work back to achieve it? And particularly if you're working with clients and users, what are the best consultative approach you can take, be it in sales, be it in marketing, be it in product design, be it in engineering, be it in any of those, is what results do you want to achieve from this? And then how do we best deliver that for you? So for me, it's solution focused, inquiring mind, curious mind, um, and good relationship skills.
Hmm. Yeah, it's like textbook pretty much of what an AV tech or engineer should realistically look like.
I in my experience,
Yeah,
yes, yes. And then but not everybody has those skills. We're all different personality
true.
types. So how do you support somebody or best put the teams together for those people that aren't naturally in
Mm.
that space? You
Something
don't
else I
leave
want to
them
touch on
out.
actually.
You don't leave them out, and you don't put
Yeah.
them in a box.
Diversity in the industry.
Is core.
Hmm.
And neurodiversity, personality type differences, economic diversity, all of those things are absolutely essential into how you put the best performing teams together.
Yeah. Certain people fall. What was it? What was it? I remember. That's it. Different strokes for different folks. I love that saying. Yeah.
Very true.
Did you know
Yeah,
Muhammad Ali coined that?
don't think so.
Yeah, he was actually the first person on
Good.
record to say that.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and it was like in the papers, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's great. I'll use that too."
Ah,
Yeah, that when I looked that up, I was like, "What? Him?" I mean,
great man,
it
great
makes
man.
sense considering who he was, but I didn't think. Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
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 he
yeah.
had a question on how it is that he knocked out, or was it Sonny Liston, despite the fact that he had
Right.
finishes before, and he was like, I got different strokes for different folks.
Maybe it's then been adapted
Yeah,
differently from his pure meaning of it, but that's nice to know. Thank you.
that's all right. Um, big on that diversity part.
Mm,
What do you think the benefits of having a diverse workforce are in such a tech-driven field? Because in my experience, if you do have like a truly diverse team, you can cover basically anything. Um, for example, say two techs. One is very outgoing. They're really good with clients. They have an amazing mind for, say, selling products or selling projects. So like, if you do want a crazy cool video conferencing room, let me know. I got this one,
Hmm.
this one, say it's showing off designs, very personable, very, very friendly. But they're maybe not like a super elite system integrator. Whereas you
Hmm.
have, I don't know, say shy tin and let's put me in here. I really want to be in a very dark room on my own, sticking in TVs and wiring up things. I really don't want to talk to any clients. So then those two mix,
Yeah,
and it's magic. One
absolutely.
handles the clients, one handles the work. Boom,
Yeah.
productivity galore.
And that's why, without putting people in boxes or personality types in boxes or anything like that, um, diversity is essential. It's essential in our industry as it is in every industry as it is across the world. It's a social and moral imperative as
Mm-hmm.
far as I'm concerned. And as we said, that's all breadths of diversity. It's we do a lot of work and a lot of focus on gender diversity and ethnicity diversity in our industry, which is really core and really important. And but nowadays we also think an awful lot more, as you pointed out as well, about economic diversity and about neurodiversity. And so for all of those things, you can't be what you can't see.
Mm-hmm.
So the importance and the need for having people is you are you are an inspiration. You're an ability to be able to say to somebody, I can do that because they've done that. This industry is welcoming to me. This space is welcoming to me, whatever it might be. And I think, as you were touching on as well with the engineering sort of skill sets, that's the thing for me. It's personality type. That's what's so important. We all think differently. I'm going to think differently because of the fact I'm a woman. I'm going to think differently because I'm a woman of a life experience of X years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to think differently of a woman of a life experience from different economic factors that I've been able to benefit from over the years, but certainly not where I started from. I'm going to think differently because of my education. All of these things, we know this, but that doesn't put me in one box as a woman. And the thing is, it's about understanding how you best use teams and people together. So, understanding personality types and how you get the best out of each other is one of the most important things to do. Now, that's not putting somebody in a box. The fact that I'm more of an extrovert in a Myers-Briggs sense, not as in jazz hands walking into
Yeah,
a party,
yeah.
that I'm going to see things differently. But I've got to communicate with somebody who may be an introvert, again, using the Myers-Briggs. So I have to change how I communicate because I've got to understand what they need from me. Me talking big picture, me getting, and this was absolute example of how I used to work in my product marketing days at Electrosonic, when Electrosonic had a product division before it was sold to Extron. My role was to do product marketing. So I would be out meeting with clients, understanding their needs, talking about the products that we were developing and what
Yeah.
was coming on the marketplace. And I would bring that intelligence back of what their needs were to the products business. Now, I can't talk big picture, big solutions. I need to adapt my knowledge and understanding into something that the engineer is looking at. And again, I'm not being stereotypical, but in engineering design of product,
Mm-hmm.
which would have been very much more sort of flowchart design in
Yeah.
terms of product sets, product benefits. And so the whole important point of where product marketing and engineering works go closely together is exactly as you described with those two engineers, is you're getting the best. Because an engineer is going to ask me questions I might not be able to answer, but they need to know them for development. So I've got to be able to express that, and vice versa. So they will bring me back down from, that's fantastic, Sarah. I love that idea. That's absolutely brilliant. But we're working on this, and we're working on this, and we're working on this. So you have to have that best of both mix. Then if you put that into, of course, teams, if you put it into other areas of design or consultancy, that's your absolute sweet spot when you're looking at people that have got different life experiences, different ways of thinking and knowing how the world works for them, because we're not one thing, we're not one viewpoint, one focus. So no matter what it is, your client isn't that one thing, that one focus. You've got to get that breadth of vision and understanding. And in tech particularly, I think that's why I think the AV industry has always been such a creative industry, which is open to everybody to be able to succeed in it. I'm not a technologist. I love technology, but I love what it does. I'm very interested. I can geek out very, very happily, but I'm not a technologist. But I am very interested in how the world works and how people use technology and what they want from it, whether that's an experience, whether that's a revenue driver, whether it's an efficiency driver. And that's why that sort of, as you've been saying, the best of melding all types of diversity is core. And then, of course, we know all of the statistics. We know the McKinsey statistics, the Forbes statistics. We can quote them ad infinitum in terms of the improvement to bottom line, the improvement to business. That to me is the given. That's the given. It just is, as well as it being, as I said, socially and morally imperative to do so.
Best of both worlds. More money and happier people. Yay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think there's some interesting things that I've always used sort of outside of this space is it's where sort of diversity has not been considered, that has, some very, very serious consequences. More women will die or have serious injuries from car accidents because of seatbelt design and because of the industry safety standards based on the male.
But no way.
It used to be, it's improved enormously now, but it used to be that more women would die of heart attacks because the heart attack symptoms for a woman are different to a man. So a lot of things historically that have been based on one factor, we now know an awful lot more information about in terms of the dangers. So, we're passing those times.
Tell you what, that was a good example of diversity right there. I wouldn't have known if you didn't tell me, but you have your experience of knowing that, and now you've informed me, and I both know.
And it makes us think, it makes us think about other areas in life where, for all diversity, where it's not considered. We can think of many examples in other spaces of diversity where one view is taken, one presentation to the world is taken that doesn't work for others, doesn't incorporate, doesn't include. So yes, as you can tell, something I have always been very passionate about, not just because I'm a woman in this industry.
Bit further on that, do you think the AV industry is diverse enough currently?
I think there's always,
from a race standpoint and a gender standpoint, I think
we're a microcosm of the world, aren't we? We're a microcosm of all, industries and economy. And I think there is far more that needs to be done and can be done for greater inclusion. Very much so. Very much so. Certainly in gender, certainly in ethnicity, and far greater understanding of neurodiversity as well. Far greater understanding of those needs. Far greater understanding of economic diversity.
That one,
very much so. I think huge strides have been made around the world. We can go back to the 60s and 70s with all of the movements that we're representing, greater need for inclusivity and greater need for belonging, greater need for equity in that, at that time, quite rightly, equity. But we still have lots to do.
We still have lots to do, yeah.
Yeah.
Always be better.
So do the things that we can do within our businesses, do the things that we can do that we're in control of. And know it, recognize it, understand it, embrace it, have programs in place.
So on one part of that, you mentioned economic background. What advice would you give to young people, particularly from low-income backgrounds, who are interested in the AV industry but face barriers such as the cost of certifications and events to attend?
Yeah. I think it's one of the things that I've seen, so I can take a sort of a UK perspective, I can take a US perspective. I benefit from being able to travel the world for our trade shows and meet with our members and understand what's being done. I think the common theme is the apprenticeship schemes, the ability for programs to be put in place where organisations are giving you a great ability to understand everything that happens within a business and are supporting your training and supporting your education and supporting you to going to events. And a lot more of that is done now than I would say probably even sort of 5-10 years ago when I was in the industry. So a lot more companies, system integrators have got those programs in place, manufacturers have those programs in place. The work that, of course, Jack did at Middlesbrough University, Jack Laidlaw, with the first UK government-approved apprenticeships scheme, fantastic thing, framework guidance there. AVIXA has a framework plan for launching apprenticeship schemes and being able to do that worldwide as well. Obviously, we've got lots of materials and tools that are available that are learning tools that are free of charge or very low cost, a lot on the website, a lot on AVIXA Exchange. We have webinars that are happening all the time, so we've got access for people to be able to do that now, from anywhere. I think I know you've been talking to Graham as well. I'm pretty sure you're talking to Graham Massey. Agencies like Graham's and the work that he's doing as well with is really important. There's groups in the US that we support. There's a group called Loop Lab, which is very much, I said, the AVIXA Foundation supports, and that's very much around economic diversity, and it's very much around empowering and enabling people to be able to get those opportunities, even working with organizations to help them understand where they could have barriers in place that they don't know. They've got an unconscious bias around it because they haven't experienced it. A simple thing of expecting somebody to be able to have a car to get to work, they're not going to be able to do that. So, what things can you put in place in terms of transport and to support people? So there's lots of programs that companies around the world are supporting and doing. But I think fundamentally, the beauty about the AV industry is you can come into it at any level and succeed. And apprenticeship programs are a wonderful way of being able to get that support as you go through those early stages of your career. And those programs include training. As I said, AVIXA's got a lot of training materials, manufacturers have a lot of training materials. So there's a wealth of access to there that you can get to support you on that learning journey.
Yeah, that I have noticed. Every time something new would be used in the workplace where I used to work, it'd be like, hey man, you want to come do this training little thing with one of the integrators who'd come in and he'd give us essentially free training.
Yes.
The product I think was always really cool. I think actually some AVIXA stuff came in a couple of times and we had some training with that, so that was nice.
That's great to hear. Yes, yeah. Well, the industry needs people in the workforce. So the only way you're going to be able to do that is where companies do get involved with schools and they talk about what careers are available, and they do support colleges and universities, and they do provide training, and that is happening all around the world. Integrators around the world are doing that in their communities. Manufacturers are doing it. Consultants are working in the same way space as well. So it's that vital life force to be able to attract people and then support them when you do bring them in.
Agreed. So I mentioned it now, but a bit more on the place you work, AVIXA.
Mm.
Do AVIXA have any programs? I don't know if you offer apprenticeships, but do you know of any entry-level apprenticeships or mentorship initiatives for young people interested in starting an AV career? And if so, how can they get involved with AVIXA?
Wonderful. So as I mentioned, yes. So the AVIXA Foundation we've got an apprenticeship framework that anybody can use and download, and that's a guide as to how to set one up. So any organisation can do that around the world, how to set one up, what you need, how to best operate it, or how to best get the most out of. As I said, we've got education materials as well, plenty of those to use. We do a lot of work through our councils, AVIXA councils. We have the Women's Council happens to be the largest one worldwide, followed by the Diversity Council. But we also have councils, of course, for systems integrators, manufacturers, live events, so all of the communities across our ecosystem. So they are always initiating projects every year. So we've got councils that have initiated mentorship programs. We've got councils that have done work on, onboarding of staff or project management, all sorts of things. So there's a lot of materials available, but there's also a lot of community that you can be part of that represents, your desires, your needs, and you can join as many of them as you like, they're all global, so you get a lot of different breadth of ideas as well. So I think sort of content, avixa.org, AVIXA Exchange. Of course, there's a lot that happens at all of the trade shows, but we also, what we do most importantly as well is not just have that expectation that somebody's going to be able to physically be at a trade show. So you'll have seen that we've had so much more digital content that will be content that's happening at the shows. So we will have panels, presentations, sessions that also you can view afterwards or at the time. So that sort of 365 engagement, rather than it being 3 days at a show, is very important to us. So anybody new coming into the industry, you will find everything that you want to understand about it: training, starting materials, interesting talks, topics, snippets. Not everything is a hour video. So there's a lot of material there to get you excited and interested and find your people. If you're in the industry, you've already found your people, and we can then help you find those that really, stimulate and excite you as well. And of course, Denise's book is a great resource.
Fantastic resource. I love going back to that. It's every time, read the book. You must read the book.
Phenomenal resource. Really amazing work that she's done. Yeah.
Agreed. Tons of resources. What do you think are the most in-demand skills in AV right now, and how can someone new to the industry begin developing them most effectively?
Yeah, I think, our world, we are wholeheartedly fully part of the IT ecosystem. We're part of the broader sort of technology space as well. We have a lot of specialisms and a lot of need to understand our pure core AV skills. But I think the having that broader understanding of IT and AV is really important. We launched last year the ANP certificate, Audiovisual Networking Professional, which is part of our CTS range, and that's something that's very important to give to IT people coming into or working in our industry. How do I understand these differences? What do I do? And for AV people as well, needing those IT knowledge and skills. I think I think I'm still going to come back to, in terms of, rather than it being sort of a technology skill per se, I'm still going to come back to the problem solving, the solution focus, having that inquiring mind, and really importantly, social skills, that ability to be able to
Yeah.
interact with people. Now, you know, that's a stretch for some people, as you say. You know, quiet, shy Sarah does not always necessarily want to walk into a room and you know, dig deep. But that ability to sort of recognize it and know where you can go and where you've got the right people around you to buddy up in that sort of, you know, two engineer team, as you said,
Mhm.
is really important. So I think I would go with the problem solving, the inquiring, the hows, the whys, because that will take you into any space in our world. It'll take you into, you know, engineering, design, project management, sales, marketing, leadership, you know, all of those
Yeah,
areas in any market.
100%. Can't stress how important networking is. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, it's
Yes.
I don't seem it, I suppose. Apparently, I don't give off this energy, but I'm actually a pretty nervous person usually.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, just had to sort of save up my battery, as it were, my social battery
Yeah.
all the time, and then save
Yeah.
it specifically for a big event I know is coming up. And I need to, I really need to get in, like, know people. Because
Yeah.
AV is an industry that still has, I think, a few issues with like marketing itself. So there's a lot of jobs that go by which literally don't even have a listing. It's just
Mm-hmm.
a guy at a company's like, yeah, we need someone for, I don't know, just say
Yeah.
basic maintenance of a couple of rooms. Um, do you know anyone? And then another person is like, yep, I know someone. And then they call a person on their personal line. It's like, it doesn't even go up. You don't even see it, but it's been taken
Mm-hmm.
already. So knowing people is extremely
Yeah.
important, I think.
And you raise such a beautiful and important point, and also particularly for one for yourself to know. I'm not going to sound, I don't want to sound patronising, at a young age. I
Mm.
wish I'd known at that age, and it was probably one of my learning lessons to know quickly in terms of um, what made me tick and what I needed and what made others tick, and how I, as I talked about earlier, needed either to adapt my communication style or understand my needs. And I would certainly say over time, you know, you commented about needing to be somebody that sort of, you know, topped up your battery, knowing that you're going into something like this. That's so essential to know. I'm on the other end of the scale, where I'm somebody that's more naturally, I get energy from people.
Yeah, yeah.
So I get energy from being in those scenarios. Oh, believe me, I'll be nervous. You know, believe me, I'll be thinking through, prepping, whatever it might be. But I get energy from those scenarios. But that's not limitless.
Mm.
So I will say, as I've got older, in the Myers-Briggs sense, E certainly got smaller than it used to be. So I do need those topping up moments.
Mm.
But also what that skill has done, or that ability to know more about it, has given me that chance that when I'm with people, I can either draw them out or give them a little bit of energy. You know, if I can see that somebody's nervous or having a bit of a slump or whatever it might be, you balance it in the right way. So that's lovely that you know it in yourself.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's important because I can't go to an event and be like, oh, hey, how, you know,
Yeah.
I want to talk to the kind of funky dude.
Well, do you know what though as well, Tin? And I think, to be honest with you, nowadays, I really hope that we're much more accepting of who we are and how we come up, how we show
Yeah.
up. I really hope that those the sort of the layers that we used to have to, or felt we used to have to wear, are fewer.
Yeah.
I
That's
think
also
we're
nice.
yeah, we're much more into authenticity nowadays. Now, not everybody everywhere has that luxury. Of course not. Of course not. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be sloppy and not pitch up in a suit and prepare and do all of those things. But I hope that, we were saying earlier, you know, a little bit of personality can
Yeah.
shine through as well for all of us.
Agreed.
And
Personality.
notice I used a judgment term, sloppy, because for me, still, I wouldn't be able to go anywhere if I wasn't appropriately dressed for business.
Yeah.
Whereas I wouldn't dream of thinking about that on somebody else.
That's something my
As a
mom's
self-judgmental
very
thing.
big on. I can't not look at least decent going outside. Some of my friends can go out in like pajamas, and I can't do it. I don't know how you do it, man. I wish I could, but I don't know how you do it. I can't.
No, it's
Slippers
not.
outside is
No,
just bonkers.
no, but there's no judgment. I
No,
use the
zero.
word
I honestly, I'm jealous.
judgmental. It's not something.
That you're,
I need
yeah.
that sense of preparing for the day. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's what it does for me. It's not a. That's not fake.
Mm,
That's my preparation for the day.
agreed. Um, I guess we talked about the past a bit with the beginning of
Mm.
your career. We've talked about the present with newer people coming up. We can touch on the future a little bit, I think.
Mm.
How ready do you
Absolutely.
think the AV industry is for faster moving tech advancements like AI, obviously, the big boogeyman, and machine learning and other emerging technologies?
Mm. I think like all things, you could sort of do a comparable of how many ever years ago when we felt the IT industry was encroaching on the AV industry. Some people were still talking about that when others were recognizing we're part of this industry, we're all one and the same. Um, the beauty of our industry is, though, that we are constantly adapting and evolving. We talked about that from my very early days in it. Highly, highly innovative. We're used to new technologies coming along and how we use them. And also, we're very much, because we've got those inquiring minds and creative minds, we look at existing technologies and what could we do differently with them, or how could we adapt them differently. So I think because we are such a problem focused industry, we're highly, highly adaptable. And this is only excitement for me in terms of what's coming. It's not something that's fearful. And I think that so many of our organisations and our industry is at the forefront of either adopting emerging technologies or creating emerging technologies. I think we're absolutely prime for this.
Mm,
So I would embrace it with something new to learn and get on it quickly, because it's here.
yeah.
And I think, in terms of what the next few years will bring for us, this sort of greater pace of change is only going to speed up. It's only going to become, ever increasing. We're going to see greater innovation. We're going to see greater speed to market for products, for design applications. Users' needs are going to change irrespective of the market that people are working in. The intuition in products is now going to enable people to adopt them far more quickly and use them far more quickly in ways that we can't even right now think
Mm,
about that will come. Um, and so it's going to, everybody in our value chain, everybody in the industry is going to be, I'm going to say impacted, but I don't need that negatively. We are all going to benefit from this. So because of what we offer and because of what we do and because of our customers around the world and the skills our industry has, the AV industry is going to be very, very exciting for
mhm.
others to come into. And that can only also benefit us as well, because you've got broader opportunities. Um, so I don't look at it with fear. Um, I look at it with the sort of the pace of change and the opportunity and the excitement that's going to come. And very importantly, the opportunity for new people coming into our industry that will be able to embrace this very, very quickly. They're already doing it, they're already using it. The skills they will bring us, are very important. Whether it's next generation, however we want to
Yeah.
sort of term it, but that brings us a benefit that we will possibly need to sort of adapt our thinking a little bit about how we embrace and adopt what they're doing, more than probably in past times we've ever really done.
That's what we're good at, though. That
It is absolutely. No, absolutely, and that's what we know. So yeah, bring it on.
okay. Yeah, I guess more future is good. Where do you see the AV industry in the next 2 years, let's say?
Well, I think, as I said, I think it's going to be just greater pace of change,
Mm,
greater innovation, um, speed to market of products, design. We're going to have this new generation, next generation coming into a workforce that will bring us so many opportunities in terms of how we adopt things even more quickly. Users, because our technologies are so ubiquitous and now great intuition, we're going to have even more things that we don't even know now what's going to come in terms of how that will shift and emphasize how people use
mm,
solutions. And that's in every market. We don't, think about what healthcare could be, think about what the entertainment industry could be. It's not just sort of obvious applications of corporate space,
yeah.
but look at all of the areas that we are essential in. Each of them are going to have a very their own innovation in what they can adopt and how they can change their industry. And we will be at that support and driver of making that happen for them. So yeah, it's all going to speed up
Yeah.
and be and bring more opportunity. That's the thing. It's going to bring more
That's the
opportunity
best
because
part,
from
yeah.
speeding up there'll be greater efficiencies.
Actually, um, you mentioned going back a bit back to the past. What is one piece of advice you wish someone had given you when you were just starting out in the AV industry?
I think I think it would be actually, as I said, that understanding earlier in my career and life of personality types.
Mm,
I'd hate to uh, it's not psychology on it, but it would be understanding that, because I think the most important thing for me, if I think about early challenges in my days in the AV industry, I don't think it wasn't because I was a woman. It wasn't because I was a woman. Um, but there are elements that are easy to project onto someone, and woman is a dynamic in that.
mm,
If I'd understood and known more about um, how do I communicate to you, because your brain thinks differently to mine, your perspective of the world is different to mine. How do I adapt my way that I see the world through my personality type and the way that my brain is wired and my life experiences to how you see the world? Because ultimately, what do we need to do?
mm-hmm.
And I probably had a lot of conversations in my, in this industry, in my sort of, late 20s, early 30s, where I just felt I was speaking a foreign language and I could not understand why what to me was clear and obvious
Yeah.
was not. But it wasn't, because I wasn't communicating it in
Mm-hmm.
a way that was clear and obvious to the person I was talking to. And that's because if I'm looking at a big picture and I'm understanding something from a big picture perspective, and I'm talking to someone that needs me to have explained not the end result, I'm there, I can see it.
Yeah.
I've got to do the building blocks.
Yeah.
Well, to me, I know the building blocks because we know the building blocks because you can't do those until you get there. Ah, right, okay. No, I need to do the building blocks. And that's personality types, that's brain
Mhm.
types, that's in its very simplistic form.
Yeah. That actually is something that I've experienced so much, even recently.
Mm-hmm.
I have two sisters, and talking to them all the time it has taught me so many things. Random little things that I wouldn't expect to be different are completely
Mm-hmm.
different. Like they'll consider differently where to walk, for example. And I'm just like, what? What do you
Yeah.
mean? You know, there is a street, go down the street. But they're like, I don't know. This street may be too dark. I can't see enough on it.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't see someone approaching. I couldn't hear them. Maybe it's like, oh wow, that's so
Mm-hmm.
much more than I thought. And once you explain, I'm like, that makes sense.
Mm.
But I never would have in a million years thought of that.
And that's a sad but beautiful example of recognizing a different perspective
Mm.
and recognizing it. Sorry, a different experience. It's not perspective; it's life experience. And you're right. It isn't necessarily something that you know, as a man, you might think about it at different times. You might think about it late at night, or you know, I don't want to be in certain spaces because if there's things are kicking off, then you know, let's get home, let's be more careful, whatever it might be. But you know, women at this time of year, if you're a runner, I'm not a runner, but at this time of year, if you're a runner, you can't do your run at the end of the day because it's pitch black.
Yeah.
And as a woman, you're not going to be doing that. You're not going to do the normal run that you usually do because it's pitch black from 4 o'clock. So there's all sorts of things, you know, and that's from a gender perspective, but then there's a whole host of things that we have to think about entirely differently from you know, an ethnicity perspective, or you know, as we talked about, neurodiversity perspective,
Yeah.
and God goodness, you know, an economic perspective. And that's why it's so important to you know, recognize that, and ask and be curious and be supportive, and you know, have that understanding.
And taking
Yeah.
that into the workplace, I think, is really productive, really, really productive, and really helpful in like a just a personal. It makes people feel so seen,
Yes.
trying to understand them. You know, asking helpful questions, insightful questions. Not like there's a difference between like I like to say there's no dumb questions, but there's a difference between like a good dumb question and a bad one, if that makes sense. One is like someone will, I don't know, say, please don't walk on my corridor that way, and you'll be like, okay, why? Or what's the problem with it? And then they might say, I don't know. Let's say one person is walking down with a literal clapper and they're like clapping it as they're walking down, and it's incredibly annoying for everyone else. And one person was just walking in like a way where their shoes are squeaking a little bit too much.
Right.
There might have been, let's put one of my friends there. That's like a autistic coworker who's just down the hall, and they can hear that every
Yeah.
single time, and it's really grinding their gears. And so they
Yeah.
just asked this person, you know, would you mind either, I don't know, walking down the other corridor, which is just right there, or maybe watching your footsteps a little bit around my desk? That's okay, you know, not in a rude way. Whereas the person with the clapper is like, oh, what's wrong with this? Bang, bang, bang. I think recognizing that those little things are
Mm.
really, really, really important. If you have the clapper, I have no idea what you're doing. Don't ask the question, bro. That is a dumb question. But you know, the little thing like, oh, okay, yeah, cool, I get that. Okay, I'll order the next quarter next time. Maybe I'll get a different pair of shoes because I like my coworker so much. You know, I think those things are lovely. I think they're a lovely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be, you know, just a none of us know what somebody else is walking through their world with, their life with. None of us know if someone's having a good day, a bad day, or whatever it might be that they're experiencing. And just a little bit more sort of understanding of that and reflection of that. And that, yeah, wouldn't that be beautiful in life?
Yeah. Isn't it so fun to kind of understanding
Yeah.
people like, yeah, this is great. I love
Yeah,
this, you know?
absolutely. And I think that's why our industry is so, why, like, as you said, you know, you come into it and you know you're not going to leave. You never want to leave because we are people focused.
Mm.
Because everything we do in our industry is about people. It's about either how people use systems, experience the world through the work of the AV industry. It's about people. And we are very, very driven by, you know, people needs, and we're creative and we're quirky. So,
Mhm.
you know, I think as we said earlier, we find our people, don't we? And then we stay, and we're constantly inspired by something else
Yep.
that's happening to remain.
Mm. So, last bit, three key tips for young people interested in AV career from you.
Um, I would say that in terms of, there are so many groups out there that will support you. There are so many people and organisations out there that will support you. AVIXA is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
The work that you're doing is awesome. The work that others are doing. Jack's done with the apprenticeship scheme. That Denise has done with the book. Taking particularly a sort of a UK focus now, you will find so many routes to be able to support you. And exactly as you gave with that job example, you will find people that will recommend you to other things as well.
Mm-hmm.
I would say get a basis and a sort of an understanding of the industry, even if you're not going to go into a technology field, you're not going to go into an engineering application, for example. Understand the industry, and again, plenty of tools to be able to do that. There's plenty of training materials where you can just get a base understanding of what it is and that we work in. And then find some support that you can have. That education process then supported and continued. Lifelong learning is essential. We're always doing it. There'll be another course or something that comes up that I'll be interested in and want to learn. So it never stops. So I think find your people, find your groups. There's plenty of routes out there across all of the industry to be able to do that. There's other associations, there's universities, there's all of the companies that provide, apprenticeship schemes, for example, when you've got your foot in the door. And reach out.
Mm-hmm.
If you know somebody, reach out. If you're interested in this at a school age, there are tools that we've got tools for. AVIXA has tools to be able to set up tech crews and set them up in your school. There's also insight there as to how you go and find a job in the industry. Nobody is going to turn you down if you say, I'm interested. Can I chat to you about what's this about? Because we love our industry, we're passionate about it, and get connected. As you said as well, recognize what makes you tick, what makes you comfortable as well, and if you need to stretch into different places, how would you do that?
Mm-hmm.
But we're such a social industry as well. There are always things that are happening that you can, reach out, get a group of you together, come join us something.
And don't be afraid to say hi, because
No, that's beautiful.
we
Don't
are
be
very
afraid to say
friendly.
hi. Yeah. I know it assumes. So at the trade shows we have careers days. So at the trade shows we'll have a career day. We'll have groups from universities, particularly coming up at ISE. We'll have groups from universities in Spain that are coming to a career day. We do sort of speed pitching almost in terms of employers that are looking for talent and give that opportunity for students to be able to find their first role. And that's been super successful over the last few years at ISE. So there will be things and events that are happening. There'll be careers days, and then there'll be a lot of material that comes after that. There'll be a lot of postings about it. So even if you can't physically get to something, start following groups on social media. You've got AVIXA, you've got other trade associations, you've got, CEDIA for the residential interest, you've got follow, the shows. You'll start very quickly to build up an understanding of people. As I said, you'll find a lot of material on avixa.org. We've got a whole community on AVIXA Exchange. That is the AV community's place to be.
Mm-hmm.
You as somebody coming in, get onto that. You can lose yourself in a rabbit warren of materials, interviews, people, content, and start to build your network, be it virtually before you get that opportunity for in person.
Perfect.
My pleasure. I hope that's been of value to you, Tin. And
of course, even I'm still learning. So,
we all are, darling.
don't be afraid. Come along, say hi.
Yes, very much so. There's events at the shows. There's events that are happening, all around, the locations that we work in. There's events that we work with other partners. Get onto social media and just be part of every group that you can see, because all of the postings and the activity happens. And yes, come and say hi. If you see me at something and you've watched this, come and introduce yourself, and I will connect you with a whole host of people.
Wise words. Thank you, Sarah.
My pleasure. Really, really super, Tin, and great
Bye-bye.
to spend time with you. Thank you.